I want to talk about getting into the single family home rental game. That's what I want to talk about today. This really applies to people that have always wanted to own their own rental property, looking to build maybe a portfolio of them, and they don't want to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. I'm going to give you a basic rundown on the core four things you need to get this up, set up, and allow you to start the process of buying rental properties, over a period of time. So I want you to keep a couple things in mind with this specific advice. I'm going to help create a game plan to get you started in creating a rental portfolio, but you'll need to run it by your attorney, tax consultant, and whoever your local real estate expert is to be sure it's in line with whatever your goals are. Okay, the video is for an individual investor, although the same strategy can be applied to partnerships, joint ventures, and syndications if you want to start maximizing your opportunity there. My background short is I've flipped over 100 homes. I've also been a part of managing other people that do this specific thing, where we open up a line of credit and we buy property, and then I bring the contractor, and then I find the home, I bring the contractor, I stage the house, and then I get the house with the tenant in. I've had a lot of success doing it. The last few I've done, I don't think I've gone more than 10 days without getting a tenant at the end. So the results have been very, very good for the people I work with. And all I did is I said, you know what, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to do a short video. I'm going to walk them through all the core things that they're going to want to have in order to be able to set this up and start running. Okay. So let's go through your checklist. It's a 4 core things that we really want to have. First thing I recommend doing is opening an LLC to buy homes through it. You can certainly do it in your own name. If you only plan to own one, maybe a couple of them, or maybe you're left with some, it's fine. You could do your own name. You just gain more benefit by opening an LLC, right? So there's a couple things to keep in mind. It creates a separation between you, the owner, and the tenant. It provides liability protection in the event things happen. Usually things can stop at the LLC without tagging you personally because it's an independent it's its own person, the LLC, and it's the one responsible for any of the negligence or consequences that may happen. And it creates tax advantages. You set this up properly, you're able to come out ahead with a reduction in the amount you pay in taxes. Second thing I recommend doing is opening a bank account in that new LLC name. It just makes things a whole lot easier. Okay, there's several things that it does benefit you. One, it keeps rental related debt separate from your own. That's certainly a big benefit. It allows you to link and manage everything seamlessly through accounting or property management software. I have some vendors and people that can help you through that. And it's another way that creates that separation between you, the owner, and the tenant. Some of the management software that we use has a way for the tenant to make a request through the software, and it kind of has that feel that it's waiting for a response from someone on that team. So it's a little less personal. And I think that really kind of makes it feel more like a business and less about, hey, can you, stop by on your way home from work and, take care of my sink. It creates a little bit more separation that way. And it records everything. I mean, that really helps. Knowing what time and energy you've spent on each one of your properties is a real easy way for you to kind of keep a history of that. Completing your year-end taxes is far easier as well. Having its own separate account really lets you tie in QuickBooks or using a rental software, and it just makes it, there's no questions about where all the money is. And not to mention, if you take deposits, which you should, with tenants that come in, you're required to actually keep a separate escrow account of that money, and that money should not be intermingled with anything else because it's really the tenant's money. It's just your insurance policy. In the event they stop paying rent or they've caused so much damage, we now have recourse. So having that separate in a separate account would really benefit you there. The next thing you're going to want to have is you want to set up a relationship with short-term funding, hard money, line of credit, any of these type of short-term options to allow you to buy things on the short term. You can do long-term with some of these options, but the long-term options typically are a whole lot more money out of pocket. Okay, I'm going to kind of explain the difference between your best option finance-wise for interest rates and terms versus doing a short-term funding option. I'm going to kind of walk you through the differences between the two of them. And the main thing is it's allowing you to leverage less money to buy more houses, far less out of pocket than working through any type of traditional lender investment products. So let's start with short-term funding options. They can be as little as 15% of total cost or less to acquire and complete the rehab. This means on a $300,000 after repair value, you can buy it for as little as $40,000 out of your pocket. Start to tenant, okay? And not only is it $40,000 start to tenant, you're going to have 20% equity when you're done. So that $300,000 house, you put 40 in, you now have $60,000 equity on a $240,000 remaining loan that should be covered by the tenant's rent. Okay. Very few restrictions are usually applied. They're easy to refinance out of. They're meant to be short term. They don't want you to be paying this every month and continue on with it. Approval is typically on the property, not the buyer, which can help you if your credit's less than perfect. We want to just get into this business and allows you to not hit your debt to income. Typically doesn't show up on your debt to income. It doesn't show up on your personal credit. You may have to be a personal guarantor, but that doesn't mean it shows up on your credit. And it's typically the approval process from that type of lender is usually focused on the property, not you as the investor as much. Okay. And it really helps on getting past a lot of the conditions that traditional loans have. So that one, now let's look at traditional loans, and I'm going to kind of explain the difference between how that works versus just using the short-term funding. Traditional funds like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac options, conforming FHA loans, they want to go through, I want to do a second home, I want to buy it for investment purposes. They typically have about 20 to 25% minimum investment into it. Now you'll get really good rates and terms. It's going to show up on your personal credit, and it's going to have a ton of restrictions. Okay, this is the reason why it's more of a challenge. If all things being equal, that $300,000 house in the short-term funding option that was roughly about $40,000 total out of pocket start to finish will now go up about 50% going through this. You're going to increase an additional $15,000 to $20,000 on that same $300,000 after repair value property. Okay, so it's a lot more out of pocket, and it has a lot of restrictions. They have certain type of inspections they may require. You're going to have appraisal. They're going to make a determination on value with appraisal consideration. You're going to require a survey. You're going to have title commitment requirements. This is title issues that come up that they have to have certain things to clear in order to be able to approve it. And then you're going to have to be individually considered. This is based on you as the borrower's capacity, not so much just the property. It includes both, but the buyer is a big part of the equation as well, which includes credit score and debt to income and all those things. And then the last thing is the property condition itself. There are lots of limitations on what they will accept and what they won't. There are ways to do Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae loans, FHA conventional loans that offer repair type options, but they're a lot more complicated. So generally, we want to do a short-term funding option with the ability to refinance later. So you're going to want to be approved for two things. You're going to want to be approved for short-term financing and for your refinance option ready to go when the house is ready for that appraisal and get you into marketable rent options. Last thing we're going to want to have is you really need to have build a list of partners that are ready to deliver specifically in your local market. Very, very important. One is an insurance agent. You want to have somebody on call that can give you quotes for fire policies, is what some insurance companies call it. Basically, it's rental insurance for the property in case there's something that happens to it. You make sure you cover the replacement value of it. Having a good real estate agent is really critical, as you can imagine, because they're going to provide you an outlook on rental comps and ARV. We want to know what the house is worth after repair as well, so we have a determination of how much equity we have. And just expertise, someone that actually works with investors, is able to work through even finding properties in some cases, to evaluating them and making it help the investor understand if it's a good opportunity or not. And next, you're going to want 2 or 3 general contractors that are available to bid. They're not too backed up. They're in that they really need to be in the flipping type mindset. General contractors that do retail have a different mindset, and they're obviously far more expensive with a higher expectation on finish out. So there's a whole lot more work that goes on the retail side, meaning, you want a contractor to come in your own personal home and then replace the countertops and floors. You want it done perfect and right. It's going to cost more because you're going to be a lot more work. If you go into a vacant house where nobody's there oversight every single day, they can run at their own pace. They can work in the middle of the night on Saturday. They're going to be a lot less expensive because they know it's just determined on how fast they can get the work done. But finding guys that specifically, or girls, that specifically do this is going to be really effective. Last thing is having wholesale off-market sources. You need to have some options where you know how to go find properties, and those properties are going to be available at a reduced cost benefit that we can assess and determine what the outcome is on the rent values. So the 4 things we need to do: open LLC. We need to open a bank account in the new LLC name. We need to set up relationships with the short-term funding, hard money, line of credit, and your final refinance option. And then the 4th thing, we need to build a list of partners. Have any questions or want to connect? Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.